We've just seen the members of the royal family, led by the King, leave the Westminster Hall. The King there exchanging a few words with the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby. And as we look at these images, Luke Blacksell, if you can hear me, sir, I suppose we do now need to speak about King Charles and about his reign. He will face enormous challenges, won't he? Not least that for the moment, he is not as popular as his mother was.
Yes, he will face enormous challenges. Anybody succeeding Queen Elizabeth II would face enormous challenges. I think one of the most pressing ones is the challenge of the Union. There obviously are challenges to that from Scotland and indeed from Northern Ireland that are perhaps more pressing than they have been arguably since the Act of Union itself in 1707 in the case of Scotland, 1801 in the case of Ireland, and then from partition and the creation of Northern Ireland in 1922. He has historically been not particularly popular, that's perfectly true, associated with, of course, the tragic death of Princess Diana, and his popularity perhaps not helped in recent years by his depiction on The Crown, for example. But opinion polls do suggest that he has had an enormous boost in popularity, I think much greater than any of us expected. And now only around 15% of the population think he will be a bad king. That comes with its own challenges, of course. Expectations have now really been raised. And of course, there will be critics when he errs or makes a mistake, which is very easy to do in an age of 24-hour rolling news. But certainly, he's suggested, I think, that even though the challenges are considerable, that he wants to feel he's equal to them.
Indeed, on some of those challenges, I wonder if we can bring in our own correspondent now, Benedict Paviot. Benedict, there was talk there from Luke Blacksell about the challenges of the Union, of keeping the United Kingdom together with Scotland's desire potentially for independence. There's also a question, though, about the Commonwealth, isn't there, and whether those countries may indeed want to remain part of that body that was so loved by the Queen.
Yes, indeed. And I think we need to, for a moment, reflect on the fact that the Queen died in Balmoral. And because she died in Balmoral, we've had that 24 hours of her being in St. Giles Cathedral and people being able to pay their respects there. Indeed, they paid their respects as her body was slowly moved for over about 7 hours down to Edinburgh. And what an incredible unifying, I think, moment that has been. But you're right that the Commonwealth, that is very challenging. Her dearest wish is that her son, then Prince Charles, be the next head of the Commonwealth. That last time that Chogham came to decide that was indeed decided that he would be. But that is an incredible, daunting challenge. I think it was very interesting to see Prince William a few months ago recognizing that they are on their tour with his wife Kate, that there will be countries that will decide not to remain within the Commonwealth, and that they understand that and they respect that. And I think that was the first time that a senior member of the royal family actually said it that directly, that clearly, and in situ. So that is something that will play out, and it will be important for King Charles to, of course, react to that, respond to that in the appropriate way. And it looks like several countries will choose to become republics, and if that is their wish, then of course that will be what happens. But so many challenges here, because let's remember that Parliament is suspended, and we haven't had an opportunity to say it, but I think it's not disrespectful to point out that the Prime Minister last Thursday, as we hear applause there, but that the Prime Minister last Thursday presented a plan, a long-awaited plan. We've had this 7-week political hiatus where people, the cost of living, 10.1% inflation, those problems have not gone away, and there are some growing voices that are saying now that the British political system has party political conferences, their biggest party political conferences coming up. When is there going to be proper scrutiny of that economic plan and help, financial help, that was announced by the Prime Minister, Liz Truss, last Thursday? interrupted that whole process, of course, perfectly normal, because of the death of the Queen and the correct mourning. But it's not, people are still going to face incredible bills. So we will explore that at another time, but it does need to be pointed out that Parliament is suspended. It was reconvened for extraordinarily eloquent and appropriate lawmakers paying their tributes to the Queen, and quite a few of them had a lot of humour in it. I should point out that behind me there are people who've been queuing up since either Monday or some 2:30 this morning or 7 a.m. and that these are the people who are going to be with their yellow wristbands and a few other wristbands, as we saw earlier on France 24, making their way to file past the coffin that we have just seen enter the Palace of Westminster. I understand that this will all be done in stages. I've just seen a little girl of 7 years old who's been queuing up and who is looking forward to filing past Her Majesty, Her late Majesty's coffin.